Black and white people is interdependence and independence from their oppressor. So long as you're buying your water, your food, your electricity, you're paying so-called taxes and not being obligated with invalid contracts, your life force is going to be drained from you. And you're not going to be able to direct that life force to your own children to preserve in your own estate. In this day and time, black people are facing the most scrutiny because, number one, they call themselves black, which is the slave brand, ratified under slave codes, which were nothing but disability codes for slave Negro property. They ratified that and recycled that under this fake-ass 14th Amendment, which is nothing but a contract, voluntary contract of citizenship, of subject citizenship, like a subject to a king, like subject to somebody else. It's subject citizenship. So you can't be mad. You can't get mad. Why? So the only way black men are going to get any respect, black people in general get any respect, is number one, the men begin to create laws and execute those laws and take the laws in their own hand. We have to learn the laws of nature so that we know when we're in line with the laws of nature and when we're not in line with the laws of nature. So when we act, we won't act scared. We act in full right. Our birthright, our natural right, our inalienable rights, every right that we know that we're born with, we act in that capacity without fear. Because most of us are scared and we don't know the law. We don't even know that we have the right to defend ourselves. Look up the word flee to the wall, the law term, flee to the wall. Our highest capacity as human beings is engaging in commerce. That's the highest level of us. That's how we reach our social peak as humans, is commerce. So if you don't own anything, then you will never reach your social peak. Or if you don't have rights or access to resources, you could never reach your social peak. Because we're connected to the planet. So we're disrespected because we are the Aboriginal indigenous people, and we have been systematically dispossessed of our land. We've been miseducated with false history to make us think that the people who occupy America today, who occupy the North American territory, are rightful citizens or possessors of the land. The Europeans came here and occupied. You have European occupational government here. You don't have an American government. There is no United States because it became a corporation in 1878. And with that, it repealed its organic constitution, meaning that there's no human being that is legally obligated under any trust of called the United States Constitution anymore. Black people as a collective do not have the buying power or the economic influence to be able to subject a collection of white people to any kind of discrimination dealing with commerce or owning property. But white people have the collective power to deprive a group of black people their ability to own property and to exercise their rights. That's what institutional racism is about. So it's impossible for black people to be racist because we can't even get together and deprive white people collectively of anything. We have them mentally groomed to think that we're African natives. But what is our free national name? What nation did we descend from? Africa is not a country. Africa and America are continents. So how are you African American? What is your free national name? Because under the 1790 naturalization laws, free blacks nor enslaved blacks couldn't be citizens. With all that said, without you being a true citizen, you can't own property. And if you don't own property, then you don't have access to your own food and water. You have to go to somebody else. Commerce is a voluntary thing. Being able to contract is voluntary. Getting married, buying food from people, buying goods, manufactured goods, it's all contract and it's all voluntary. Whenever you find yourself obligated to have to use your life force to obtain something, then you need to start rethinking what position you are. If you have to go somewhere to get your own food and you can't produce your own food, then whoever's producing your food, what you need to live, controls you. How can you be a husband and a man if you can't even produce your own food? If you're buying from a company owned by people who don't even live here, who don't even live in this part of the earth. So if they decide to pick up and shut down their business, they're not thinking about you or where you're going to get your food. They're thinking about what's beneficial for them and their company. Yeah. People can control great nations by destroying their ability and sabotaging their access to food and clean water. So whenever you find yourself lacking in natural resources, you're going to find yourself lacking in substance and potential. So there's no way you're going to be able to have a husband or be able to have a wife and be able to have a household if you can't self-sustain. You have to be able to self-sustain it. Direct all of your energy towards preserving your own estate or the estate due to the collection that you have with your other brother's bloodline. Because of your bloodline and because of your right to the soil, you have right to form your own societies independent of any colonizing country, any colonizing regime. You have to have your own land. Land is number one. Without land, there's no game. There is no chess. Came out with that. If black people, all of the homeowners who knew their true status here as indigenous people, and that they're immune from levy, exempt from levy, from taxation, that money, just from 1% of black people that own homes, that money that would be paid for taxes at the end of the year could be billions of dollars. We spend over $1 trillion in our annual disposable income on bullshit, and we don't own but 0.5% of anything in this country. 0.5% of everything in this country we own. So at the end of the day, as long as brothers realize that the land and the water in the land is what's important, then we'll be able to produce something. You can produce not only a nation, but you'll be able to produce a GDP, and you can market that GDP. You'll have leverage when negotiating with other people, creating terms and conditions of commerce, and then you're straight. But you're not going to be running around here talking about Black Lives Matter. Hands up, don't shoot. Like a man said, you better off saying nigga duck, running around with a sign saying nigga duck. You know? We can talk to death, but if you're going, you can talk about the white man, but until you stop buying from him, you're still having intercourse with him. You're still having sex with your enemy. You can't have sex with your enemy and expect to change. Expect something different. That's insanity. You know?
Right. His leg looks brown.